Hi everyone, I'm Kaziniko Mapia and welcome. On this channel, I film videos about my life in Australia and I also share some life lessons that I've learned along the way. So today I'm going to be doing a life lesson video. I'm going to be talking about one of the biggest life lessons that I have learned during my time here in Australia. So just to give you a bit of background, I came to Australia in 2008 and I was, first year of uni, 1 year out of high school. So I was very kind of like fresh to being independent. I had lived all my life under my parents' roof. I had never had a place of my own. I have never been in charge of my life in that way. And when I came, I was so excited about, you know, being able to have this freedom and do whatever I want and, be my own boss. So yeah, I was really excited about it. And when I arrived in Australia, like for like the first week or two, or even like the first month, I was just so excited about everything. I remember like when I first got into my place that I was renting at the time when I was a student, I was just like, oh my goodness, like I'm just living my best life because for the first time, I had a room to myself. I wasn't sharing with any one of my sisters. I had my own bathroom. Like I had so many of my own things which I hadn't had before, like because I'd always been sharing with one of my siblings and stuff like that, which was fun like when I was doing it. But I was looking forward to that time that I would have my own space, my own stuff. And when you grow up in a house with 6 kids, you understand how much you appreciate just having your own space. So I was very excited about having my own space. Like I was very excited about the fact that I was eating whatever I wanted to eat. I didn't have to consult with anyone to see if they wanted to be eating what I was eating because I was just cooking for myself, eating what I wanted, just making my own decisions for the very first time I felt in my life. And I was very excited. And about a month or so afterwards, I started to feel homesick. Like I thought it was like just homesickness, and I feel like to me it was more than homesickness because I feel like when you're homesick, or the way people talk about being homesick is just kind of like, oh, I'm homesick, I miss home. For me it was deeper than that. I literally felt the pain of separation. Like I felt like everything that I had ever known, everyone that I had ever known had just been cut away from me. I felt like it was more like, and I know this sounds a bit extreme, but that's like exactly how I felt. I felt like an extreme loss, almost like a death in that kind of sense. I felt like I've lost my parents, I've lost my siblings, I've lost my friends, I've lost my relatives, like I've lost all these connections that I had. And that started setting in for me when I started to see that how real things were getting. Like, you you've you're starting to run out of your money, like you're starting to experience real life. Like you're no longer shopping, just living your best life like that. You now have to be more responsible. You now have to budget. You now have to think about, okay, so what's going to happen tomorrow, what's going to happen in the next week. And I think that's when things started really becoming real for me, and I started to realize how comfortable I was at home, and how everything was just being done for me, and I didn't even know where the bread was coming from. I didn't even know who was paying the electricity or how much it was. Like all those things, I didn't really have to worry about. And now having to worry about those things, I started to feel really that pain of separation and that big loss, that okay, I've lost a lot. And also when I started to see that okay, now I'm having to make an effort to make friends, now I'm having to get to know people. Imagine like you're now in your 20s and you have to get to know people from scratch. Like you've got you have to get to make friends. You've got no one, you've got no relatives, you've got no other connections than the ones that you now have to make from scratch. So I felt like in my life I was starting all over again, and I wasn't prepared for that. Like I had prepared for everything else. Like I had prepared for this, you know, I have to study, I have to pass, I have to do those things. Like I had prepared for all of that, but I hadn't prepared myself for this separation that I was gonna experience. And I didn't realize how hard it was gonna be for me. And what happened to me after that was I didn't enjoy Australia at all. Like for the first month, I loved everything about Australia. Everything was new, everything was exciting. After that, I found it so hard to enjoy anything because I was so focused on what I had lost. I would think about, oh, I remember I used to go to this place. Oh, I used to like going to that place. Oh, now I can't go there anymore. I used to like doing this. Oh, now I can't do that anymore. And I don't know anywhere to hang out here. I don't have anyone to hang out with. So I started being like so like nostalgic. I was just longing for all the things that I had left back home. And I felt like no one around me could really understand me and what I was going through because everyone seemed to be happy and enjoying life, and I was just like doing the things that I had to do, like going to school, going to work, like doing all these things that I had to do, but actually wasn't going to work. I hadn't found a job yet, but I was going to school, like coming back to my place and just doing my schoolwork, doing all those things, but I wasn't it was very hard for me to enjoy, even though I would participate in activities, like I would go out and I'll do these kind of things, but I found it hard to really enjoy them because I kept comparing them to back home, like, oh, the music here is not as good as what they used to play back on. Oh, this is not as good. So whereas for the first month, everything was, oh my gosh, this is so brilliant. This is so awesome. And now it's like, oh, this is not as good as this. This is not as good as that experience I had. Oh, yeah, this public holiday is not as good as this because we used to do this as a family and those kind of things. So I stopped seeing, you know, the joy in where I was because I was longing for the place that I was coming from. And the life lesson that I learned from that experience was that sometimes we lose sight of what we have to gain because we're so focused on what we have lost. And I I I see now like what I was back then, that there were so many things that I could have enjoyed. There were so many moments I could have really soaked in and really appreciated, but I was so focused on looking back and looking at the things I had lost and looking at what could have been and looking at, oh, I can imagine if I was in Zimbabwe, what would I be doing right now? Like, who would I be with right now? What would I be working on? Oh, I wonder if I would be doing this if I was in Zimbabwe. So I kept on looking back, and I think it got better with time, but I didn't completely lose that looking back. I constantly kept looking back. And because I used to look back more than I was looking forward, like I feel like I wasn't really enjoying Australia the way I could have enjoyed it. And I see that sometimes in life, if you really want to maximize your progress, if you want to go as far as you have the potential to go, the best thing that you can do is not spend too much time looking back. We are humans. From time to time, we're going to look back, look at the things that we used to have, look at the things that we've lost, but it should literally just be a little, you know, checking back. Like, the way you check your rear view mirror when you're driving, if you spend so much time looking in the rearview mirror and not looking where you're going, you're gonna crash. Something bad's gonna happen on the road because you're not focusing on where you're going. So I learned that in all areas of my life, I need to spend more time looking forward and looking at where I am going, looking at what I have to gain, not what I have lost. And that way I can go further. I mean, if everyone was driving on the road looking at the rearview mirror, it would just be a disaster on the road. And in the same thing, in your life. If you spend so much time looking back more than you're looking forward, it's going to be a disaster. You're not going to experience what you have the potential to experience. So that was my biggest life lesson, I can say, one of my biggest life lessons in Australia. Keep looking forward. Yes, you have lost some things. Yes, you have lost relationships. Yes, you have lost some connections. You have lost, a certain lifestyle. You have lost certain things. But at the end of the day, in life, you have so much to gain than what you have lost. Whatever it is you have lost, no matter how big it is, you have so much to gain going forward than what you have lost in the past. And when I started to realize that, I started to just enjoy my life at another level. I started to appreciate everything around me. I started to be way more grateful for the things that I had, for the people that I had, for the connections that I had. Even though they were different from what I had before, I started to appreciate what I had now. And I noticed I started to move further ahead in my life in all areas, in all aspects, career wise, family wise, relationships wise with other people. I started to move forward a lot more. So that life lesson is something that I always remind myself of, because sometimes I do have a tendency to look back and look at, the things that I've lost or what could have been. But I remind myself, you know what? You have so much more to gain than what you have lost. And if you don't appreciate and spend more time looking forward than you do looking backward, you're never going to appreciate that. You're never going to grab hold of those things that you have to gain. So yeah, I just wanted to share that with you guys to say, well, no matter what kind of situation that you're in, hopefully you can look back at this life lesson and it can apply to some part of your life as well, and understand that there is so much to gain from where you are going than from the things that you have been through and the things that you have lost. Okay, guys, I will see you in the next video. Bye.